The text on my phone blurred as tears filled my eyes. Midnight in my empty apartment, and I stared at the message that finally broke me. We have other plans tonight. Victoria is introducing us to her boyfriend at dinner. This is more important than your birthday. My own mother's words. Not even a happy birthday, Clara. Just a dismissal of the celebration I'd planned 2 months in advance. The celebration they'd promised to attend. I felt something crack inside me, not just disappointment, but the final fracture of a lifelong illusion. Some families aren't built on love. They're built on favorites. And I had never been one. My name is Clara. I'm a financial director at a major company downtown. 6-figure salary, corner office, the respect of colleagues, everything I'd worked years to build. But to my family, I might as well have been unemployed. Because in their eyes, I would never measure up to my younger sister Victoria. What happened after that text message changed everything. Because when I used my own money to buy a country house as the ultimate birthday gift to myself, their reaction revealed exactly who they really were. At 35, I was finally rebuilding my life after the messiest divorce imaginable. My ex-husband Benjamin had cheated repeatedly, and when I caught him, I was done. No second chances, no counseling, just divorce papers and the certainty that I deserved better. When I told my parents, my mother's response still echoes in my mind. Clara, you're being ridiculous. Benjamin makes most of the money in your family. You live off his income. I stood in my kitchen, phone pressed against my ear, that familiar knot tightening in my stomach. Mom, I literally make 6 figures. I'm a financial director. Don't exaggerate, honey. Benjamin told us about your little office job. Little office job. The word slapped me across the face. Here I was, managing multi-million-dollar budgets, leading a team of 12 people, and my own mother dismissed my career because my cheating ex-husband had convinced her I was basically playing dress-up in an office somewhere. This wasn't new. This was the story of my entire life. Growing up, the favoritism wasn't exactly subtle. When Victoria was 7 and I was 15, she knocked over my laptop while I was working on a school project, spilling apple juice all over the keyboard. The laptop died instantly. My parents bought Victoria a brand new tablet that same day because she felt bad about the accident. When I asked about replacing my laptop, Dad shrugged and said I should have been more careful about where I left it. When Victoria got her driver's license at 16, they surprised her with a brand new Hyundai Elantra, complete with a big red bow in the driveway. 3 years earlier, when I got my license, they handed me the keys to Dad's old pickup truck, the one that required you to pump the gas pedal 3 times before it would start, and even then, you weren't guaranteed it wouldn't die at red lights. Victoria got into a decent college with average grades. They threw her a graduation party that cost more than some people's weddings and paid her full tuition without blinking. I got into a better school with honors and a partial scholarship. Their response? That's nice, honey. Figure out the rest yourself. During my divorce, I kept our apartment since I'd put more money down on it anyway, despite Benjamin always acting like he was the sole provider. Benjamin got the country house we'd bought together. It was fair, honestly. I was relieved to be done with the whole mess. But my parents acted like I'd committed some unforgivable crime. How could you give him the country house? Mom screamed over the phone. We love spending weekends there. Benjamin had always invited them over to play the perfect son-in-law, sitting on the deck with them, drinking wine, listening to them complain about me. Now that playground was gone. You could visit me at the apartment instead, I suggested, genuinely hoping they'd want to spend time with me. Mom actually snorted. It's not the same. That house has a pool and a garden. Your apartment is just an apartment. For 2 solid months after my divorce was finalized, I didn't get a single invitation to family dinner. Not one. Meanwhile, Victoria would post Instagram photos of herself sitting at Mom and Dad's dining room table, all of them laughing and smiling, with captions like family dinner night. I wasn't in any of them. It was like I'd ceased to exist. When they finally invited me back, Mom made sure I knew exactly how they felt about my life choices. You know, Victoria's been asking questions about your divorce, she said, passing the mashed potatoes like she was doing me some huge favor. She's wondering if she should get married at all after seeing what you did. What I did? I couldn't keep the disbelief out of my voice. You mean what Benjamin did? The cheating part? You're setting a bad example for your sister. She's only 27. She doesn't need to see you throwing away a perfectly good marriage. Victoria sat there the entire time with this little smirk on her face, not saying a word but clearly enjoying every second of watching me get lectured. She'd been doing that since we were kids, sitting back while I got in trouble, soaking up the drama like some kind of entertainment. But here's the thing, for the first time in years, I was actually starting to feel good about my life. I had my own place that I could decorate however I wanted without Benjamin complaining. I had friends who supported me, colleagues who respected me, and a job I genuinely enjoyed. The divorce was painful, sure, but it was also liberating in ways I hadn't expected. As my 36th birthday approached, I decided to take control of the situation. I called my parents 2 months in advance, 2 full months, to make sure there wouldn't be any scheduling conflicts. Mom, I'm having a birthday party at my apartment. Don't plan anything else for that day. Just come to my place, okay? Yeah, we remember, she mumbled before hanging up on me. I threw myself into planning this party. I wanted everything to be perfect. I ordered catering from this amazing restaurant downtown, invited my close friends and the colleagues I actually enjoyed spending time with, just the people who mattered to me. I wanted to celebrate not just my birthday, but this new chapter of my life. While I was organizing everything, I also called Justin, my realtor friend who'd helped Benjamin and me buy our apartment originally. Justin, I've got some savings built up, and I'm thinking about buying a country house. With a mortgage, obviously, but I can make a solid down payment. That's awesome, Clara. What are you looking for? Something nice. Really nice. I want this to be my birthday gift to myself. Justin was excited and started sending listings. Over the next couple of weeks, I spent my weekends driving around, checking out properties. The third house I saw took my breath away. Beautiful property, perfect location, exactly what I'd been dreaming of. We closed the deal a week before my birthday. I was so excited I could barely contain myself, but I didn't tell my family anything about it. I wanted to surprise them at my birthday party, show them what I'd accomplished on my own. My birthday finally arrived, and I was genuinely excited for once. The apartment looked perfect, the catering was beautiful, and I kept checking my phone to look at the photos Justin had sent me of my new house. My friends started arriving around 6. Vivian brought wine, my colleagues brought flowers, everyone was in such a great mood. But by 7:30, there was still no sign of my parents or Victoria. I started getting that familiar sick feeling in my stomach, the one you get when you're expecting disappointment but still hoping against hope that this time will be different. Where's your family? Vivian asked, looking around. They'll be here, I said, but honestly, I was starting to panic. By 8 o'clock, the party was in full swing, but I couldn't stop checking my phone. I called Mom first, straight to voicemail. Then Dad, same thing. Then Victoria, nothing. I started texting frantically. Hey, where are you guys? Party started an hour ago. Nothing. Mom, Dad, Victoria, please call me back. Getting worried. Still nothing. Everyone was having an amazing time, laughing and eating the catered food, but I felt like I was going to be sick. My own family couldn't be bothered to show up to the birthday party I'd planned 2 months in advance. Finally, around 9 o'clock, my phone buzzed with that text message that changed everything. We have other plans tonight. Victoria is introducing us to her boyfriend at dinner. This is more important than your birthday. I stared at those words, my hands shaking. They chose Victoria's dinner over my birthday. The birthday I'd specifically told them about 2 months ago. I was trembling when I called Victoria. She actually picked up after a few rings. What? She said, sounding annoyed, like I was interrupting something important. Victoria, why did you plan your dinner thing tonight? It's my birthday party. She laughed. Actually laughed out loud. Oh, it just worked out that way. Sorry. But I could hear it in her voice, that mocking tone she'd perfected over the years. You did this intentionally, didn't you? Don't be so dramatic, Clara. Don't cry about it, okay? You'll ruin your makeup. Then she hung up on me. A minute later, another text came through. This time it was a photo, Victoria, some guy I'd never seen before, and my parents all sitting at a fancy restaurant, raising their glasses and smiling like they were celebrating the most wonderful thing in the world. I almost lost it right there. I wanted to scream, throw my phone, lock myself in my bedroom and cry until I couldn't cry anymore. But I had a house full of people who'd actually shown up for me. I took a deep breath, put my phone away, and went back to my guests. Everything okay? My colleague Patrick asked. Yeah, family emergency came up. They can't make it. Nobody pushed for details, which I appreciated. These people actually cared about me enough to be respectful. Well, their loss, Vivian said, raising her glass. Happy birthday, Clara! Everyone toasted, and I felt a little better. At least some people in my life actually gave a damn about me. That's when I decided to tell them about my surprise. Actually, guys, I have some news. I bought a house. Everyone got excited immediately, asking questions, wanting to know everything. I pulled out my phone and showed them all the photos Justin had sent me. Oh my God, Clara, it's gorgeous. Vivian said. This pool is incredible, Patrick added. You have to throw a housewarming party, another friend said. We'll all be there. For the first time all night, I felt genuinely happy. These people were excited for me. They wanted to celebrate my success instead of making me feel guilty about it. The party went until almost midnight. Everyone helped me clean up afterward, which was so sweet. After they all left, I sat on my couch with a glass of wine, thinking about what had happened. My family had deliberately chosen to skip my birthday. Victoria had planned her dinner on my birthday on purpose, just to hurt me. And none of them, not Mom, not Dad, not Victoria, had even bothered to wish me happy birthday. But I had something they didn't know about. Something that was going to change everything. I opened Instagram and uploaded the photos of my new country house. I wrote a simple caption, the best gift for myself. Love yourself. I went to bed feeling pretty satisfied. Tomorrow was going to be very interesting. Saturday morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing like crazy. Missed calls from Mom, Dad, and Victoria. Lots of them. I checked my messages. Mom, what house is this? Where did you get money for this? Call me immediately. Dad, Clara, we need to talk. What is going on? Victoria, is this real? How did you buy a house? Why didn't you tell us? I made myself coffee and ignored all of them. For the first time in my life, I had something they wanted to know about, and they could wait for answers just like I'd been waiting for them to treat me like I mattered. Sunday morning, I was sitting at my kitchen table in my pajamas, enjoying my coffee and scrolling through my phone. The apartment was quiet, sunlight streaming through the windows, and for the first time in days, I felt genuinely relaxed. Then someone started pounding on my apartment door. Not polite knocking, aggressive, demanding pounding that made my coffee cup rattle. I looked through the peephole, and there they were, Mom, Dad, and Victoria, all standing in the hallway looking absolutely furious. I took a deep breath, smoothed down my hair, and smiled to myself before opening the door. Well, look who decided to visit. They pushed past me into my apartment without waiting for an invitation. Mom immediately started looking around like she was conducting some kind of inspection. Dad positioned himself in the center of my living room with his hands on his hips. Victoria flopped down on my couch without being asked. Clara, what the hell is going on? Dad shouted, his face already turning that familiar shade of red. You bought a house and didn't tell us? That's completely irresponsible behavior. I stayed calm, leaning against my kitchen counter with my arms folded. I was going to tell you at my birthday party. You know, the one you didn't show up to. For a moment, all three of them looked uncomfortable. Mom glanced at Dad. Dad looked at his shoes. Victoria suddenly became very interested in examining her manicure. The silence stretched out for maybe 10 seconds before Mom's face hardened again. You can't afford a house with your salary, she snapped, her voice getting that shrill quality it always had when she was losing an argument. Where did you get the money? Did you take out some ridiculous loan? Are you in debt up to your eyeballs? I laughed, actually laughed out loud, throwing my head back. If you people paid any attention to my life, you'd know I make good money as a financial director. But you never listen when I try to tell you anything. Mom's mouth opened and closed like a fish. She clearly had no idea what my actual salary was, despite the fact that I tried to explain my job to her dozens of times over the years. That's when Dad said something that made my blood run cold. You need to give this house to Victoria. I stared at him. What did you just say? You heard me. Victoria needs this house more than you do. I looked at all three of them, thinking they had to be joking. But they weren't. They were dead serious. Mom nodded like this was the most reasonable thing in the world. We talked about it last night. You already have an apartment. Victoria doesn't have anywhere to live when she gets married. Married? I said. Victoria stepped forward with a smug look on her face. James and I are getting engaged soon. We're having our wedding in 6 months. We need somewhere to live. So you think I should just give you my house? I said slowly. It makes sense, Dad said. You don't need 2 places. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. These people were actually standing in my apartment, demanding that I hand over the house I just bought with my own money to my spoiled little sister. You're all completely insane, I said. Get out of my house. Now. They looked shocked, like they genuinely thought I was going to say, sure, Victoria, take my house. Clara, don't be selfish, Mom started. Get out! I yelled. I started pushing them toward the door. Dad tried to stand his ground, but I kept pushing. You people are unbelievable, I said as I shoved them into the hallway. I don't want to see any of you again. Clara, you can't just, Victoria started. I slammed the door in their faces and locked it. I could hear them arguing in the hallway for a few minutes, then finally their voices faded away. I thought that would be the end of it. I really did. They'd realize how ridiculous they were being and leave me alone. Wrong again. A few days later, my phone started ringing. Aunt Margaret first. Clara, honey, I think you're being a little unfair to Victoria. I hung up. Then Uncle Raymond called. Your mother tells me you won't share your new house with your sister. That doesn't sound like you. I hung up on him too. Then my cousin Christine, come on, Clara. Victoria's getting married. Can't you help her out? More hanging up. I realized Mom had called every relative we had and told them some sob story about how mean I was being to poor little Victoria. The calls kept coming for days. But the worst part was what Victoria did on social media. She posted this photo of herself crying, actual tears streaming down her face, with a caption that said, when your own sister won't help you because she's jealous that you're getting married and she's divorced. Some people can't stand to see others happy. The comments were brutal. All our relatives and family friends telling Victoria how sorry they were, how they couldn't believe I was being so selfish. Some people I barely knew were calling me horrible names. I didn't respond to any of it. What was the point? 2 weeks after the whole confrontation at my apartment, I decided to throw a housewarming party at my new place. I invited all the same people who'd come to my birthday, my real friends, the colleagues who actually cared about me, and the few relatives who hadn't demanded I give my house away. I spent the week before the party buying furniture and decorating. The house looked absolutely amazing. I was genuinely proud of what I'd accomplished. The party was scheduled for Saturday afternoon. I'd hired the same catering company, bought plenty of drinks, the whole thing. Around 2 o'clock, people started arriving. Everyone was so impressed with the house. They kept telling me how proud they were of me, how I deserved this, how beautiful everything looked. I was having the best time I'd had in months. Then around 4 o'clock, there was a knock at the door. I opened it, and there were my parents. Surprise! Mom said in this fake, cheerful voice. They walked right past me into the house like they'd been invited. Hello, everyone, Mom announced loudly to my guests. I'm Clara's mother. My friends looked confused. They knew my parents hadn't come to my birthday. Mom made her way around the room, introducing herself to everyone, acting like the perfect supportive mother. Then she got to the middle of the living room and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "I'm so proud of Clara, and I'm sure she's going to let her father and me move into this beautiful house since we've decided to give our house to Victoria for her wedding." The room went completely silent. I stood there for a moment, processing what she just said. Then I smiled. "Actually, no," I said, just as loudly. "You're not moving into my house." Mom's face fell. "Clara, we can work this out privately." "No, we can't." I walked over and opened the front door. "You need to leave. Now." Dad stepped forward. "I'm not going anywhere. This is ridiculous." "Then I'm calling the police." I pulled out my phone and started dialing. They left. As they walked to their car, Dad shouted back at me, "You're an ungrateful daughter." I closed the door and turned back to my guests, who were all staring at me. "Sorry about that, everyone. Let's get this party back on track." And we did. My friends rallied around me, told me how proud they were that I'd stood up for myself, and we had an amazing rest of the afternoon. 6 months have passed since that housewarming party disaster, and I haven't spoken to my family once. Not a single word. And honestly, it's been the most peaceful 6 months of my adult life. I know Victoria got married because I saw the photos on social media before I deleted all their accounts from my friends list. Looked like a nice wedding. Expensive too. I wasn't invited, obviously. Not that I would have gone anyway. From what I heard through the grapevine, because people love to gossip, Victoria and her husband James are renting some tiny one-bedroom apartment across town. Apparently, it's not very nice. My cousin Christine mentioned it when she called to try to guilt-trip me again about 2 months ago. "Victoria and James are living in this tiny place," she said. "If you just let them use your country house." I hung up on her mid-sentence. I've gotten really good at hanging up on people. My parents are still living in their old house, the same house they were supposedly going to give to Victoria. Funny how that never happened once they realized I wasn't going to let them move into my place. According to my Aunt Margaret, who actually supports me, they're still complaining about me to anyone who will listen. They tell everyone what an ungrateful daughter I am, how I have all this money and property and won't help my own family. But here's what they never tell people: they never mention skipping my birthday party, or demanding I give Victoria my house, or trying to move into my place without asking. They just paint me as the selfish person who abandoned her loving family for no reason. And you know what? I don't care anymore. I really don't. My life is so much better without their drama. I love my country house. I spend every weekend there, sometimes having friends over, sometimes just enjoying the peace and quiet. I've got the pool area exactly how I want it. I planted a vegetable garden. I even got a dog, a golden retriever named Max, who's the best companion ever. Work is going great too. I got that promotion my boss had hinted about, so now I'm making even more money. Turns out when you're not constantly stressed about family drama, you perform better at your job. Who would have thought? I've been dating someone for the past 3 months. His name is Sean, he's an architect, and he's actually a decent human being. When I told him about my family situation, he said, "Good for you for setting boundaries." Toxic family members don't get a free pass just because they're related to you. It was so refreshing to hear someone say that instead of trying to convince me to work things out with people who clearly don't respect me. Sean loves the country house. He helped me install new lighting in the kitchen last weekend. We're taking things slow, but it's nice to be with someone who treats me like an equal partner instead of like I'm some kind of burden. My real friends have been amazing through all of this. Vivian throws pool parties at my place almost every month now. My work colleagues come over for barbecues. I've hosted book club meetings, birthday parties, even a baby shower for one of my friends. The house gets used and loved, which is exactly what I wanted. Sometimes I think about whether I should try to reconcile with my family. Usually that happens when I'm feeling lonely, or when some well-meaning person tells me family is everything. But then I remember my birthday party. I remember them demanding I give Victoria my house. I remember my mother trying to announce to my friends that she was moving in with me without even asking. I remember Victoria's fake tears on social media and all the relatives calling to harass me. And I think, why would I want these people in my life? They never once apologized. Not once. They never acknowledged that they'd hurt me or treated me unfairly. They just expected me to get over it and give them what they wanted. Max just brought me his tennis ball, which means it's time for our evening walk around the property. The sunset looks beautiful from my back deck. Tonight, Sean's coming over and we're going to grill some fish and watch a movie. This is my life now. Quiet, peaceful, filled with people who actually care about me and respect my decisions. I have a beautiful home that I bought with my own money, a job I'm good at, friends who show up when it matters. What I need, I have. What I don't have, I don't need. And honestly, I'm genuinely, truly happy. Thanks for listening, and if you liked this story, share it with others, and don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about finding your worth and building the life you deserve. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose your own happiness.